So we're going to talk a little bit about tuning and your Ducati. Anything say from 2016 onwards can be a little bit more difficult to tune. The older Ducatis, you could use things like Power Commander, Tune Boy, where you can actually adjust the actual ECU and download maps to suit, make the bikes a lot smoother, a lot more user friendly, and the byproduct of that is more power, which is great. But to be fair, as you get a little bit older and a little bit more mature, I'm still not there yet, but slowly, one day I will, you don't care so much about power because these things are crazy from the box. Like, I mean, what is it? The Streetfighter's 208 horsepower stock. I mean, that is mental. You don't even need that. I mean, I ride a Hyper with I think it's actually got about 120, 115, 20 now. But half the horsepower, I have twice as much fun. It's not about power. What it is, however, it's about being smooth, progressive, and giving you confidence that the bike is going to, perform the way you want. When you twist the throttle, it's going to go. When you decel, it's going to obviously decelerate, use engine braking and so on. It's not going to jerk and be just obviously nasty to ride. So the biggest thing people do is they buy a new Ducati, and the first thing, if they're sort of somewhat a little bit cool and like to get outside of the box, they'll look at an exhaust system. So cast yourself back to 2017, I bought a Monster 1200R. Awesome bike, loved it, the fact that Öhlins, black Öhlins, all that stuff, thought I was really cool. Got it, went and saw my mate Matt at SC Project Oceana. I whacked a big SC, actually not big, it was tiny compared to the stock, slip on, I think it was a CRT at the time, and whacked it on. Sounded absolutely mental. You could hear me coming from blocks away, but not that sort of blur. Really, really nice sound. However, the bike rode like absolute crap. It was jerky, on-off throttle, it was missing, it was just the worst experience I ever had. And this is a brand new bike with like 200 Ks on it with a slip-on, and it was just crap. So I thought, okay, well, I need to get some tuning, just get a Power Commander, get the guys at Course to give it a tune, a tickle up, everything will be great. Fortunately, Power Commander they didn't do. Tune Boy they didn't do because it was a new, I think it was the Manetti Morelli tuning system, or it was a Bosch, I'm not sure which one it was, but they changed over. So there was not a lot for me but to keep it with a stock exhaust or go the Termi slip-on with their little UpMap. And we'll talk about UpMap in a sec. And it was really sort of crap. I'm going to be honest with you, because nobody, let's face it, you don't go and buy a Ducati or any bike of that nature and leave a stock exhaust. There's very few exceptions that I'll allow it, but you have to change the exhaust. It's just a done thing. It's what everyone does, almost to the point where I'm kind of thinking, why do manufacturers even make an exhaust for? I mean, all that landfill and the metal, I mean, at least they can melt it and then, obviously make new shiny cans. But anyway, massive issues. Fast forward, had a 939 Hyper SP, same thing. However, there was another sort of piggyback system that could utilize and actually change and adapt. So again, went the SC route, put the computer on. And I just want to say as well, I'm not going to use any more name brands and things like that, because one thing you have to understand is in the motorcycle industry, especially the people that work in the motorcycle industry that play with their own bikes, and let's face it, 99% of people that work in the industry have a bike and love playing with the bike. We all actually want to help each other. Like, it's really weird sort of to get, past some people, but every brand, every manufacturer that's of, how do I put it to you, of significance and has been in the industry for a while, name brands, everyone wants to help you out. They actually want things to succeed. They don't just want to sell you something and then walk away. So, so I used XYZ company, put it on the Hyper, tuned it up a bit, worked great. Then after sort of an hour of riding, you stop, engine lights would come on. It was just back and forth, and I persevered. I did everything I could, putting O2 sensor, eliminators, this eliminator, that eliminator, tuning. It was just an absolute nightmare. I just could not get it to work, even to the point where I then got an 1100 Evo SP. Old school, had the Power Commander. Power Commander was great, it worked for it. We did a little bit of extra sort of mods to it. And again, we went another XYZ brand as an adapter, worked awesomely for about 10 minutes, then it would stuff up, engine lights, fueling issues, it was just a joke. So I'm not the type of person just to throw my hands up in the air. Well, I am, but not as in give up. So I came across this UpMap. So UpMap is a company in Italy. Now, I have to be careful what I say here because there's a lot of laws and things like that, so you're going to have to read between the lines a little bit. But UpMap is a little module with a data cable which goes onto your Ducati. You need to check their website out to see if your motorcycle is on the applications list. And what this does is it uses your smartphone and actually downloads a map from this. So this is like a conduit or like a spirit medium. It goes from the spirit world or the internet and it downloads a map onto this, and then this will download and rewrite your ECU. Now, I know a lot of people are going, oh, I'll rewrite my ECU, that's these guys have been around because UpMap, even though they're a totally different company, they were founded by Termi. So Termi have been around, well, I mean, they've been around for ages, but I mean, I think it's about 30, 40 years now with Ducati. So they've obviously got a good relationship and a good partnership. So this will basically rewrite the ECU to a map to suit exhaust. If you've done any sort of different intakes, because they do support a couple of, probably one of the main ones is Star Ace, Giuseppe, who is a very, very nice man in Italy who makes a lot of custom parts for Hypers and Street Fighters and things like that. He actually made his own intake, which I use on my Hyper. Awesome bit of kit. So thank you so much, Giuseppe. But yeah, so this will actually tune the ECU to suit the mods that you've done and let you use an aftermarket exhaust. Now, when I first got it, would have been probably about 8-9 months ago. I trialed it on the Hyper. I thought, what have I got to lose? Put it on the Hyper, downloaded the map, bike wouldn't start, totally effed. And I'm like, oh my God, typical, like, can't I just catch a break? So anyway, emailed the guys within and again, you can remember I'm in Perth, Western Australia, these guys are in Italy. It was about 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I wanted to ride, because remember I ride Friday nights. And they came back to me straight away. I'm not going to mention the person who came back, but he's an absolute champion, and said, hang on a sec, let me go into your account, have a look. And it turned out I chose the wrong sort of area bike, because the Ducatis have different segments. You've got the European, the American, Thailand, I think even Brazil have a different one, and it's a way their ECUs are sort of positive, negative, and also different sort of setups for each market. So that's all it was. They said, look, give me 5, we're going to change it, reload the map, and everything will be good. Did that, bike started, it was awesome. Now, I was a little bit cheeky because when you buy the UpMap, you actually get 1 free map, so you don't have to pay for a map. Certain maps you do have to pay for straight up, but they're very, very, very technical maps. So, argument's sake, Street Fighter, you got the M-Torque, which you do have to unfortunately pay for, so it is an extra cost. However, I should do this thing where if you mention Clean Ride, you'll get 50% off, and then they'll be like, what the, I should just do it, but probably can't, but I reckon I will. I'll see what I can do. If you buy it through us, we'll see what we can do. So anyway, downloaded it all, and because it was a free map, I chose a map that had, and all I had at the time was just the slip-on Termis. I chose a map for the SC, S1 pipes, DCAT, and the Star Ace intake, because that's eventually what I was going to do. It was purely just waiting for the parts to come in. So I thought, well, I'm not going to buy just slip-ons and then have to pay, €150. Let's just do that. So anyway, downloaded it, did it. Bike actually started, yay. Went for a ride, and it was totally different. It was smoother, more refined, and mind you, this map was not designed for just slip-ons. So it was just amazing. Then as the parts came in, I fitted the DCAT pipe to it for a ride. It was a little bit funny to begin with, because obviously there's some factor in there that relearns the sort of things that you do, but it just rode smoother and faster and quicker and more torque, and it was just more confidence inspiring. Then did the Star Ace intake, which very, very easy to fit. That's what Giuseppe told me. Oh, it's easy with a Hyper. It's not. It's a mission. You've got to take the radiator out to do it properly. I'm not drilling a hole in my airbox like you're on drugs. So did the intake, and again, it was just getting better and better and better. Now, mind you, coming off 939 and 1100 Evo, where I would go for my Friday night rides, at the halfway point, I'd be saying to the guys, sorry, got to go. My bike is in limp mode and it's effed. And that was not once or twice. I'm talking probably 10, 15 times. So that's 10, 15 weeks of disappointment, heartache and crying. And people that know me know I'm a very sensitive person. So it was just major issues. Now I've been using the UpMap on my Hyper now for about, I think 6, 7, 8 months now. Faultless, works exactly how it's supposed to work. It's just amazing. And the reason it's amazing for, it's not magic, it's not anything like that, but it's when you buy a motorcycle from a manufacturer, any manufacturer, it has to comply to certain regulations. So at the moment there's a Euro 5 regulations which dictates obviously emissions and it dictates noise. So Ducati or MV or BMW or Yamaha, Honda, they can make they've made the perfect bikes, the perfect tuning, and then they have to work backwards to meet these emissions and stuff. So they kind of choke the performance and the smoothness of every new bike unless you leave it stock as a rock. And remember, there's only a few bikes you can leave stock as a rock, and they're way up there. They're sort of like the exotics, 100, 200k plus bikes that you really don't want to modify. Something like a Superleggera or things like that. You don't really need to modify. But pretty much for the rest of us mere mortals, we modify our bikes. We put parts on with exhaust, intakes, things like that. So it kind of screws everything. So basically the UpMap, like I said, is this little dongle. It attaches to the OBD port. Now you've got to be really careful because if you've got a 20 and down Ducati, you'll have the 4-pin plug, standard black one. You'll pull the cap off and it will be yellow. So we'll come over here. Hopefully this thing follows me. I'm going to go slow. All right, so this is the actual OBD port. Now the one I've got, because it's a 20 model, should have got a 21. It's got a yellow port, so this will actually click, drop that. This will actually click inside, and then you have an app on your smartphone or tablet or whatever that will let you talk to the bike when it's on. Now, a couple of tips. So like I said, 20s is the yellow port. If you have a 21, you've got to be careful because you'll buy it. Say you go eBay, I'm gonna buy it, it's cheap, it's only 300 bucks landed. Takes 40 years to come, and then when I need help, no one cares. The new 21s have the 6-pin red plug. So I know the first time this made an appearance was the Panigale V2. So that is the plug that you need. So we've now got them in stock. So the clients that were waiting on their new Panigale 21s, I've got them. I'll get in contact with you and we'll do UpMap. So at the moment, I think I've done around about 45 UpMaps for clients ranging from super sport, hypers, heaps of hypers because it just makes such a difference, Panigales, and I've done a couple of street fighters. And I give people here in Perth a money back guarantee. So we'll put it on. If it doesn't make any change whatsoever, I'll give you your money back. They just don't read the fine print where I say if the change is bad or good, doesn't matter. You don't get your money back. But no, everyone has loved it. They can notice a difference. A quick shift is smoother. The throttle response is smoother. The fueling is smoother, and everyone just can't believe how simple, easy, and how good the actual kit is. So we're going to install it now. So all we need to do is actually plug this into the Streetfighter, into the OBD port. Now a couple of little tips for you. You want to make sure your bike is on a battery tender or a trickle charger, because your bike will be on for a good, say 10, 15, 20 minutes on accessories. So your light's going to be on. The last thing you want is a battery to drop down below a certain voltage. I think it's a 10.9, because then it will stop this from actually talking and it will go into like a safety mode and everyone will be upset. So bit of a tip is you want to make sure it's on a battery charger while we're doing it. And then all you do is you set up an account. Use your proper details, don't make up fake stuff. You need an email address to have an account. And then you will pretty much pick the maps that you want to suit, or map that you want to suit. Now we're sort of a little bit blessed and lucky because Termi's given us a couple of maps to try, and then we've got a third map which we'll get probably in about a week's time. So the plan is we're just going to download the basic map, then once it's done about probably 200 Ks, 250 Ks, we may drop the oil, put some fresh oil in, and then we're going to put it on the dyno. So course motorcycles are going to dyno it. And what I want to do is, and that's a big feature about this, people are thinking, oh, warranties and stuff like that, Ducati won't warrant. You always have your stock map. So you can always reflash your stock map onto the ECU. So you've got the maps that you've bought or you get when you purchase your first unit, they always stay with you on your account. So say if you go to the dealership for your service, they do an update like Anthony did on this bike last week, and you say, for instance, lose the map because they override it, you can go back in and it will only change the fueling and the ignition and quick shift and throttle response. It won't change any other parameters that they've done, so it's not going to sort of be crap. Again, it's just such a simple device that works. Now, before we install it, there's one other crucial point that we need to talk about, and there's so much misconceptions. Here in Australia, we've kind of been a little bit brainwashed. Not so much brainwashed, because it is true to a certain extent, but we think it's for everything, and that's fuel. Everyone believes that 98 octane BP Ultimate is the best fuel in the world, and that's what everyone should use. It's true to a certain point, it's not true in other points. With your Ducati, you want to use 95. Do not use 91, do not use 98, use 95. The reason you use 95 for is that in Italy and in Europe, 95 is a preferred octane rating that everyone uses. So these are all tuned to 95. So many people 2 years ago had massive issues with the Panigales, starting issues, just would not start. You'd take about 300 or 400 goes to start it, and that was purely because spark plugs were fouled because of the 98 or the additives in the 98 to give it that octane rating. And as soon as they swapped to 95 and did say 2 or 3 tanks, the bike was easier to start, smoother to ride, and it was more powerful. So guys, massive tip, use 95, it works. Do all your research, do whatever you want. 95 is the way to go if you're riding a Ducati sports bike, even older ones to newer ones. And the main thing that got me was Gina, which you met. Same thing again, Italian car. It says 91 RON, not recommended, 95 RON, recommended, 98 RON, it says okay, but not recommended. I'd try and start that car. It would take me 4 or 5 goes to start. It would just splutter. It would like miss. It would miss. Went to 95, even though that's been tuned. I've had that one tuned. As soon as I went to 95, starting problem straight away, perfect. First go, start. Doesn't matter if it was 50 degrees outside or 20 degrees or whatever, it just starts straight away because of the fuel. So anyway, massive speech there, so I'm going to shut up. We're going to download the UpMap, and yeah, and then hopefully in probably I reckon a month, 6 weeks, we'll do some dyno runs and we'll see how it all goes. All right, let's get to work. So the UpMap has been successful, and we know that because on the iPad, don't know if that'll show you, it says end completion and it's successful. The other thing you'll notice is that when it's doing its thing, the ECU will, the dash will go on and off and power up, the fuel will prime and unprime. You'll have all these lights flashing, error, blah, 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 blah. Don't stress. That happens when even the Ducati techs do their updates or they're checking in the OBD port. It's just like something that happens when they check the whole system of the ECU. So the charger's still on, it's still been charging this whole time, so everything's good. What you want to do is you want to, after it's done and it says procedure sorted, you want to unplug the battery charger. Well, actually first we'll turn off the bike because the bike's been on for the last 20 minutes. You want to unplug it because if you start it with it in, it can blow the little fuse and it's a pain in the ass. Then what you want to do, I'm not sure if it's going to show you, but we'll come down here and I'll go, oh, follow me, cool. I'm not sure if you can see the dash, but when you turn on the dash now, Ducati comes up and it says Racing Pro. That never used to be there because now I'm a Racing Pro and this Streetfighter is a Racing Pro bike. What you do want to do after you've done the UpMap is you want to kick it in the guts, make sure it starts, make sure it actually works. So let's do it. It doesn't start. It doesn't start. Wow. Okay, so that's not cool. Let's sounds like it's a flat battery. So let's put the battery charger back on. So again, it's been on charge for a bit. So let's see what the battery thinks. So maybe this is stuffed up now. Low battery. Okay, so there you go. So at least it's downloaded. We'll wait for it to charge up and we'll go from there. Well, that was a little bit embarrassing, wasn't it? It didn't start because the battery was flat. Just shows you brand new batteries, doesn't really matter. In my defense, we did have it on a little bit longer than you would with the tune because we were filming and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you so much for coming by and watching. I know the episode was very long and drawn out and a lot of talking, but I hope you gained a bit of insight into sort of tuning a new Ducati. If you can, please subscribe, like, share, click the notification bell so you're updated with our new videos. We will see you guys very, very soon to showcase the RCS brakes and things that we've had to do to make it all work. You can probably maybe see down below. I'm not going to show you, but a lot of the work's already been done and filmed. It's just a matter of uploading the videos, so I'll try and do that as soon as I can. But thank you so much. Everyone stay safe, and we will see you soon. Thank you.